The next 12 minutes might age the NFCA year. Not hype leverage. A tiny window is opening where Detroit can tilt January football without breaking the locker room or the future. No leaks, no drum rolls, just timing, cap levers, and a chess move that turns 2-minute drills at Ford Field into a fear factory. Here's what we're doing today. We're going to map the trigger date that matters. The picks that move the needle, the stunt game that lets our edges hunt, and the culture test that keeps Dan Campbell's standard intact. I'm talking about a move that isn't built for Twitter. It's built for 3rd and 7 when everything is loud and everything hurts. If you're tired of almost and close, this is the kind of thing that closes. Quick word before we dive. You're watching Lions News Fan Report. If you live for trench talk and playoff math, stick with us. Toss a like so this reaches more Detroit fans. And let's roll. Let's set the stage without saying names. Detroit has an identity that isn't cute. Discipline, finishing, grown man football. The front's already nasty on the edge. We know that. The missing piece is the exact thing that flips every playoff bracket interior. Stress that shows up when coordinators script their best answers. Pressure off the outside is great. Pressure that walks a guard back in two. A quarterback's lap is how you end drives. Think about how our defense plays when it's suffocating. The edge sets the edge. The back 7 triggers downhill and the middle squeezes. You stop the run on the way to the passer. Then you live in 2nd and 9 and 3rd and 6. That's when Aaron Glenn can heat you up or bluff heat and still get home with 4. But for that to be sustainable in January, you need someone inside who doesn't need a perfect call to win. He just wins. Cap-wise, Detroit's not reckless. They're deliberate. You open space with simple mechanics. Convert a portion of a big veteran salary to bonus. Spread it out. Keep your core intact. You don't chase names. You chase fits. And you never mortgage the locker room's trust. The beauty here is there's a way to do this without salting the future. Value the late first, like a contender, because we expect to be picking late. And treat day 2 picks like ammo, not identity. Timeline matters. The league gives you inflection points, the soft leverage weeks before the deadline, the post-deadline market, and the bonus trigger days when contracts get real. Smart front offices don't chase smoke. They set the price a week early and make you call back when the room gets hot. Detroit's built exactly for that. Polite silence, then decisive action. Scheme fit matters even more. You don't acquire a highlight. You acquire a force multiplier. You want the guy whose first step ruins a protection slide and whose hands reset the pocket depth by himself. Someone who takes a double, shrugs, and still compresses the arc so your edge doesn't have to run a marathon to finish. That's when stunts hit like traps in games up front feel unfair. Leadership isn't optional. We've watched this staff choose guys who love ball, who take coaching, who finish reps in August like it's January. You don't just add talent. You add standards. If the room says, that dude is us, the move lives. If the room says, that dude is noise, the move dies. Simple dot. So here's the reveal you've been waiting for. Paragraph 10 on purpose. The name that checks every box for leverage, timing, scheme, and culture is Jeffrey Simmons. Yes, that Jeffrey Simmons. A wrecking ball in the A and B gaps, a top-shelf interior force who doesn't need a hype package to prove it. Imagine Hutchinson setting the edge while Simmons walks a guard. Imagine 2-minute drills where quarterbacks never climb because there's nowhere to climb. Let's talk pathways, not fairy tales. Simmons carries a top-of-market deal, no secrets there. That's why the only way this breeze is if both teams get truth serum. For Tennessee, the question is direction. If they decide they're retooling, elite veterans become currency. For Detroit, the question is price. Do you part with a late first and a sweetener? Say, a day 2 pick or a conditional that escalates on snaps, playoff wins to buy a finishing piece? The math works if you pre-schedule a restructure and protect year-to-year flexibility. On field, the fit is almost beautifully rude. Simmons is not a sometimes run defender. He's a standard setter. He anchors, he two gaps when asked, and when you free him to one gap and go, he gets vertical faster than some edges. That compresses the pocket, scrambles the timing, and forces quarterbacks off their spot before they even start their second read. Suddenly your edges aren't heroes, they're closers. That's how sacks turn into strip sacks and errant throws turn into pick stop mechanically. The compensation has to feel like a win for the seller without wrecking the buyer. Think late first this year, and a conditional third that becomes a second if Detroit hits defined milestones, snap thresholds, playoff round. You add a small 2026 kicker if it seals the deal, but you guard the core. The restructure is straight. Convert roster money to bonus with one or two vets. Add void years if needed. Don't touch the foundational contracts you want clean in 2 seasons. The point isn't a splash, it's leverage. Culture check. Simmons is wired for pads popping football. This staff doesn't enable loafing. It exposes it. You put that caliber of interior presence with this edge room and these linebackers, and the whole unit's personality sharpens. Practices get harder. Meetings get louder in the best way. Standards rise because you can't fake it when the guy next to you is that serious about finishing. Let's anticipate the pushback. Interior defenders don't win rings by themselves. True, but interior stress changes how playoff teams play you. It ruins the quick game because hands are in lanes and windows are tight at the snap. It messes with screen timing because linebackers aren't wasting steps. It punishes RPO footwork because the mesh isn't clean. And in the final 4 minutes, when everyone in the stadium knows they're passing, it's the difference between a rally throw and a panic checkdown. There's also the picks are gold crowd. I get it, but when you're a real contender, picks are tools. You're not collecting. You're completing. A late first is a dream that may or may not become a Sunday problem for someone else. Jeffrey Simmons is already a Sunday problem for everyone. Windows don't stay open because you wish them to. They stay open because you hold them there with force. From a rotation standpoint, think about what it does to everyone's workload. Allen McNeil gets cleaner snaps and better one-on-ones. Your third rusher becomes a weapon, not a hope. Your fourth becomes fresh havoc on money downs. Snap counts balance. December legs feel like October. That's how you finish drives in January without blowing fuses. And for Aaron Glenn, it widens the playbook without changing the language. You can call simulated pressures that look exotic and still rush 4. You can play games with fronts that make protections pick wrong before the ball is snapped. And because the interior is honest, you're not living and dying with a blitz, you're using it as seasoning. Let me be crystal clear about status. There's no official announcement. No, done deal, banner. This is targeted, football-first speculation built off timing, cap realities, and fit. It's a blueprint, not a leak. If Tennessee holds firm, fine. Detroit keeps hunting value. But if they listen, Detroit has the capital and the culture to make the math real without betraying who they are. So what's the move? If I'm Detroit, I set the price before the room gets hot. I anchor on a late first, a conditional day 2, and protection on cash flow via restructure. I sell the vision privately. Banners aren't won by noise. They're won by forcing the B gap. And I pull the trigger when the window opens. Not after someone else tries to create a bidding war. Your turn. Lions fans, would you send a late first and a conditional for Jeffrey Simmons if it means a scarier January right now? Do you prefer waiting for a cheaper rotational piece? Or do you believe this core deserves the full send? Drop your terms, your comfort zone, and your cap ideas below. What's your winning line? My take? You don't chase names, you chase inevitability. If the price is discipline and the locker room stays intact, I'm in. Jeffrey Simmons in Detroit is the kind of move that turns "we can beat anyone" into "they have to beat us." And that's exactly the difference that matters in January. It's a football opinion, not a report. And yes, it's speculation.